It's time for Undone. To help heal and grow you, here's your host, Dawn McJOY.
Hello, my friends. Good evening. You are on Undone with Dawn McJOY, and tonight my guest is the world famous, I feel like you're very world famous, Toni Momberger.
Drop me in New Jersey, they will not know who I am.
Well, okay, so let's introduce you to who you are. So she did her homework very thoroughly. Today we're talking about she is a lady. You are like Tom Jones. She's a lady. Everything about Toni Momberger to me is not glitz and glam. It's sass and class, for sure. And she's known for it, community. She's understood us from a level of all kinds of places, from our residents to city needs, to hospital needs, to personal space, to delivering lemons to my front stoop during COVID. She is world class and definitely sass. So do you mind if I brag about you for a minute to our listeners?
Sure.
Okay. Her bio. She has a degree in linguistics from the University of Colorado. She's the first Latina to serve in Redlands City Council, first Latina to run Redlands Daily Facts, which was a local paper here and still is, right? The first DFM National Journalist of the Year. What is DFM?
Digital First Media. It's the second largest media group in the nation.
That's amazing. I did not know
more
that.
More than 800 publications nationwide.
We need to talk. Good to know. Received more votes than any other city council candidate in Redlands history with 13,000 votes. She beat out Pete Aguilar with 9,000, by the way.
Oh, I didn't beat Pete for city council.
Oh, you didn't.
He was a previous record holder.
He was a previous record holder. Oh, well, you know, I met Pete. He's a good guy. Born in Redlands Community Hospital.
Yes.
Me too. I won't ask your age.
1969.
Oh, she says it, the year, 1969. She's a mom of two. Fourth generation Redlandser, wife of 30 years to your beautiful husband. He's a good man.
Oh, he's a good man.
Jeez. Former real estate editor, former RDF editor, which is?
The Redlands Daily Facts.
Redlands Daily Facts. Former councilwoman, dog adopter, current executive editor of Follow Our Courts, and a children's book writer. That's another reason why we got to talk. I love children's books. So, Toni, thank you today. We go in this show, what my format has been lately has been a format, a loving portion, getting to know you, loving, knowing, speaking to you. We're obviously speaking, but what are you speaking out in the world? And then what we do. Okay. In the world. Well, I would rather get a healthy balance. So today I'm going to show you some love. Today, my girlfriend, she walks in, she's listening to her Spotify. What song was it?
Oh, Tonight. I'm here exposing my
That's
dorky.
okay. No, I'm the dorky too. I was in the car listening to my jams before I got here. That's what this show is. Undone, Toni. So what were you listening to? And she comes walking in. And what were you listening to?
Tonight.
And she's got this cute little outfit on, and guess what she has on? Red high heel shoes, friends. She understands it. Red Shoe Project and what I do for a living in the community. She's high heels, full on.
How limber am I?
Full on shoes. There they are. I got my shoes on. I got my hippie shoes on today. I got my Birkenstocks, my Jesus shoes, as Casey calls them. And when you walked in here, you had this beautiful essence to you. You had this excitement. And for people like you and I, it takes a long time to get our wits about us to have excitement about anything sometimes, right? And why do you think that is?
I love to dance.
You do?
And when I have music on, I dance, and I'm excited.
Me too. And it brings about a joy in our
I
heart.
love joy.
I know.
I freaking love joy. It's my favorite thing.
Me too. And so, first of all, I gotta call out. If anybody wants to call in and talk to our beautiful Toni Momberger, you can call 909-792-5222, or the local toll free is 888-909-1050. I am enjoying the fact that you walked in here just as you were, in your own style. And I've got my, you sent me a song today, and it was Alanis Morissette song.
Ah, I love Alanis
I
Morissette.
inspired my dress code for the
Nice.
90s Alanis Morissette. Thought about that tonight. I was like, I'll curl my hair with my wand, and then I'll think my Alanis Morissette things. But you really are about the people, and that's where you and I shine, right? Is the people are the reason why we do well. And being born and raised in Redlands, there's something about these people here, right?
Yes.
And what is it? Tell me.
So I lived in the Bay Area for a couple of years, and I lived in Guanajuato, Mexico for a semester, and I lived in Boulder for almost 10 years. And so I was able to really notice, and I think that what it is the intergenerationality of Redlands. I
Yeah.
think that when you have the constant experience that somebody comes to your house and your mother says, "Oh, I went to school with his mom,"
That's nice, huh?
or you're friends with somebody and your grandmother is best friends with her grandmother, and I definitely know a lot of people
Yeah.
whose families go way back, or even as just acquaintances. It doesn't have to be that we're part of each other's tribe, but we're definitely characters in each other's stories going back for generations. And I think
Right.
that it's a small enough town that even as people come and join the town, we know so many of us historically that we notice that somebody is new and we meet them, right? They
Right.
get involved in it and they enter the fold. So it's not just that everybody here has been here a long time, and it's not just that we're small, but we have this fabric that's kind of pre-established that when people join it, it's the culture. It's the culture of our town. And in Boulder, I lived there for a long time. I almost never ran into people I knew when I was out of my house. And although I was a new mom, and I understand that there were a little bit different circumstances there, but
But here, you know people.
here I know people. And
Yeah.
if I haven't met somebody yet, I notice that, and I kind of will follow them a little bit and say, "What is interesting about you?
What do you do? What is it about? You and I have that. We were just
Like
talking.
a child. Oh, look, a new friend."
Oh yeah, and you also go. We just had this conversation just before the show started. Is that we were discussing. Toni and I, we size things up because we're critical thinkers, and she's an editor, but she's also a writer as well, and so she sees things from a magical place. And so when we listened to conversations, she said, I wonder what makes them use that word, which is not analytical. It's an observation. And that is something that is a talent. I think that you have to discern your words, but also go, who are you? I want to know you. I want to know you have to have a filter, right?
No.
No, you don't have a filter when you meet new people. Really? Do tell.
I don't know. I just my upbringing or my career upbringing is seek truth and report it. So I don't know. I see truth, I say it. But the thing that I hear a lot from people, and I'm sure this just made it worse, is that they're afraid to speak in front of me. They're afraid to write to me. So many
Really?
people, because I don't like to talk on the phone. I have a huge problem with talking on the phone.
Are you a texter?
I'm a texter.
I am too. I feel
wanna
bad
text.
about texting sometimes.
And there are people who say, I do not want to text you because I'm afraid I'm going to make a spelling error, I'm going to make a grammatical error. And I have to keep telling people, I'm not working. Like, if I'm not getting paid to edit what you say, I don't care.
Right.
I'm not
seen
judging
you do both. Yes.
Like, I provide information for those who are interested in, because it's interesting to me. The
Right.
difference between words is interesting to me. I talk about it, and I post these things constantly in my public presence. But I'm not judging. I'm not judging
Right.
people I know. So, but I don't like to tell people if they don't already know. If I meet a stranger, there's a TED Talk by Lori Liebman, you probably know who she is.
I
She's
do.
a therapist, and she wrote, Maybe You Should Talk to Somebody. That's not the right name of the book. Anyway, she does a TED Talk, and she says that she lies to people when they ask her what she does. And she said, because she says people are afraid to talk to her
This is true.
because she's a therapist.
Right.
And so she doesn't want them to know that. So she says she's an editor. And I burst out laughing. And I
a good
thought that
trick.
is the worst substitute for that purpose.
It is.
Because people are afraid to talk to editors. They
Right.
want to say it wrong.
If anything, yeah, it's hard because, people do throw that out. They're like, oh, you should see my daughter. And I'm glad they do. And that's a part of grace I had to learn with being undone from I'm not just a therapist, I'm a pastor, but I also have other crazy friends in the world. And it's how do I tell the people that I'm a consistent person in their life?
Yeah.
And I'm not just by my title.
It's very hard, I think, to convince somebody that you're paying attention to the way they're doing something without them feeling like you're judging
Yes.
why they're doing that. And I would like to clarify that I am paying attention to the way people phrase things. I'm paying attention to what they're really saying. And
Yes.
sometimes I wonder, why did you just, like, I'm stumped. Why would you say that? Or even if it's a cliche, right? Why would you choose that cliche instead of saying it differently? But the thing that we gain from it, the reason I don't want people to be afraid or to censor is because I'm using that to know them better. right?
Exactly.
I feel like I have the ability, because of that, to
Right.
really connect with people, because I feel like I'm understanding them, because I'm really literally paying attention to what they're telling me.
You're listening.
I'm
And
listening
We've
to
talked
them.
Scott Ward made that one prominent point at the end of his show with me. He's like, I'm just listening. And if my story can help you and you ask my opinion, then I would love to listen to you. And that's why Red Shoe was designed to take the burden off of mental and emotional illness, but to sit back and get to know the people. And I planted myself in the middle of Redlands because, well, it's like the biggest place full of nonprofits you want to go. So you want to go right with the people.
How did you know you wanted to be a therapist?
Oh, she's interviewing me.
Oh,
Oh,
did
look
that
at that.
happen?
We talked about it. How did I know? I actually defied the odds. I went all the way straight up and did all the schooling for 12 years. And finally, my heart changed. I was going through divorce at 29, 30 years old, and I was studying to finish, and I was doing some other things in my world. And I finally just wanted to be cohesive in a lifestyle of teaching behavioral science. And it didn't matter where it was. If it was on the streets, that would be considered a good Samaritan lifestyle. If it was in a clinic, then that would be considered a good clinician. And so my determination was I didn't want to do it like everyone else. And frankly, I believed that the Inland Empire deserved a place that wasn't exactly a clinic. It wasn't exactly a church. It was the bridge between light and darkness, and a place between hope and desperation. And so the reason why I say it that way is my dad told me, if you're going to do it, this is what you do. Mm-hmm. Build a place between light and darkness, between hope and desperation. And I was like, okay, how do I do that? We got to get to know the people. Yeah. And then I realized it's about my family. And so how did I design Red Shoe? Honestly, was what did we do in my family? What made us special and unique? And it was sitting down and having a meal. And the last time I think I saw you, we were having pizza and listening to our friend Rob Sandberg play in his band. And we were dancing.
I think the greatest.
They are.
I cannot get over how good. It's Arena Red is the name of the band.
Arena Red, even better. It's got red in it.
Yeah.
He'll love that we called him out on this show, by the way.
I listen to them. They're all of the members of this band are incredible, but his voice is perfect.
It is.
He does those songs like the originals.
He's got it a way about him too, and he's a photographer. He just did my photos too, and that's another thing, the family relationship, understanding that he has a family, you have a family, you have schedules, you don't, your children are grown, other people have littles, and to come here and talk to people that we're ladies. In reality, I still feel like I'm a little kid, a little girl, and our mentors and our teachers are all saying, no, you're a clinician. No, I'm actually not. I'm still learning. You too. I'm an editor. No, I'm actually a wife, and I like my house life and my personal space. Yeah. So let's lighten this up a little bit. I got something for you. And you came into the show with listening to your song, but then you're like, I got a song for you, Dawn. Like, what song's that? And you're like, this reminds me of this old school movie that we watched back in the early, 80s? From Pump Up the Volume.
I think it was 1990.
1990, right? So I was pretty young, but in Redlands, strutting my stuff. The Redlands Bowl was going on. That was the place that you went and met people. That's where you graduated from. Did you graduate from here?
I'm class of 1987, Redlands High School.
Look, in 1987, Redlands High School.
My mom is class of 64. My grandmother was class of 41. My grandfather was class of 39.
That's amazing.
My great-grandmother, when she was high school age, I think that it hadn't been built yet, but she
Don't
was
you just
here.
love that?
Yeah.
Way before. So
Yeah.
you are generationally in the dirt, in the grit of this place.
I was in the classrooms that my grandfather was in. I
So-
remember him showing me where his locker was. But my children went to Rev, so I'm a Wildcat mom and,
Oh, okay.
and a terrier.
And
so-
a terrier. So you cross ties, but it's still within Redlands, which is good. I branched out and went up to my Yucaipa. I did some Yucaipa exploration, but they had agriculture, of course, in home ec still at that time. So, but we didn't have computers or internet. So we had to do everything handwritten, right? And
Yeah.
word processors. And so we're ancient compared to
I was
what these
out
kids
of
have
college the first time I saw the internet.
now. I had just started college and I didn't have too many emails. I didn't even have an email. And I graduated the first time with no email. And I had to go to, Kinko's and print out our papers and our thesis, right? So that's what I wanted to touch back when we come back. I want to talk about, you did your homework. You did 5 things about you professionally. We kind of talked a lot about that, but I kind of want to talk about your marriage. Is that okay?
I'm happy to talk about my marriage.
I would love to know some dating advice. I'm still looking. And
No,
what makes you you?
I haven't dated since the 80s.
Well, that's true. A lot of my friends are still really married, too, for like 30 years. So we're going to play this song a little bit and come back. Will you stay with me?
I will stay right here.
Okay. We're going to do some pump up the volume, man.
Everybody knows that the dice are loaded. Everybody rolls with their fingers crossed. Everybody knows the war is over. Everybody knows the good guys lost. Everybody knows the fight was fixed. The poor stay poor, the rich get rich. That's how it goes. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that the boat is leaking. Everybody knows the captain lied. Everybody got this broken feeling, like their father or their dog just died. Everybody talking to their pockets. Everybody wants a box of chocolates and a long stem rose. Everybody.
So you guys remember that song? If you don't, it's okay. Look it up on YouTube. This is where we're coming from. It's almost like a pirated version of what we always wanted, which is girl time. And we get to talk about it. She's a lady. And the reason why Toni Momberger is a lady, we're going to discuss. And I asked her again, is it okay we talk about your marriage? She goes, yeah, I would love to talk about my marriage.
I would.
And then I'm going to talk to her about what she deals with on interpersonal and how her marriage helps her with her interpersonal. But what we're going to talk today, I have to tell everybody what we're doing. We're on Undone with Dawn McJOY and Toni Momberger. And if you want to call in and talk to Toni or me, you can call 792-5222 or 888-909-1050. And I wanted to call out a sponsor. I got a new sponsor this week, and I'm highly impressed with how it happened. But just happened through casual, just walking down, to my office, and I've got a client on the way, and husband and wife are on their way. And this guy, Roger, he's awesome. Roger Thompson from Thompson Commercial Real Estate Investment Services. He is sitting in his office, and he's like, "Where have you been?" And I go, "Oh, I got COVID." And he's like, "Yeah, you look a little thin." I was like, "Well, first of all, do we say that?" We do. We say that to the people we care about. Like, "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good, I think." I don't know. We don't realize what COVID does to us. We don't realize that it actually does undo you from just everything. You don't care what you look like, but then you kind of do. And Roger goes, I told him about this radio show, and he goes, "I'll help you." I said, "Well, that's not why I asked, but do you want to watch it? Do you want to, I put it up on YouTube?" He goes, "Yeah, but anything you do, Dawn, it's to what? Help lift up people." Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Roger. His company operates according to the principles of integrity, honesty, loyalty with every client they represent. He's a boutique real estate investment brokerage firm specializing in acquisition and disposition of investment and real estate across the United States. Look him up. He's a nice guy, and he's also very kind.
This would be a much better segue if Roger was my husband.
Yeah, I know, but he's not. So what I want to do is talk about your husband.
Okay.
And your husband is, what's his name?
His name is Doug.
Doug and Toni Momberger.
I did not, by the way, I did not know we were going to talk about him at all.
I
He
know.
wasn't in any of the
That's how it
questions you
works.
asked me.
I know. That's how this show works. I randomly go. And tell me when you got married.
We got married in 1992
Okay.
in August at Kimberly Crest.
Beautiful.
I was 5 months pregnant with our son, Hunter. We were going to wait until I graduated college,
Yes.
which I was on like the 8-year bachelor program because ended up pregnant a couple times there and having babies. But anyway, I want to back up. Can I back up?
You can do whatever you want
I
to.
met Doug at an airport. I was flying to Hawaii to cover a protest. And I saw him and I was watching him. I was watching the way he interacted with other people and the way he carried himself and
Yeah.
just what he was doing in this airport. And I wanted to be next to him. Like I wanted to know him and have him near me. And I walked up to him. I approached him. Like I set my sights. I said, that's the kind of person
That's my man.
I want to be with. I had this whole vision of a lifetime next to him. And I walked right up to him and started talking to him. I guessed his birthday, of all the dumb things. Anyway,
You guessed his birthday.
I guessed his sign, and then I didn't want to leave. So I made an excuse to keep talking, and I guessed his birthday. And at that point, he accused me of stealing his wallet. But I went back to my spot where I was standing, and it turned out he was part of the protest that I was there to cover.
Oh, wow.
It was a rainforest protest, and some of the students, I was in a college, I was a news editor for my college newspaper anyway, and had flown down there, and so we were there for the week. But we talked until, by 2 or 3 in the morning, right? We went back to the same campsite in Hawaii. We ended up in Hilo. And he said the same thing that I was feeling, which was we just knew that was it. He
It was just your mind too.
Yeah, he said, I'm done
Really?
dating, and this is right. And we have been walking next to each other for 30 years. It is exactly what I had hoped it would be when I saw him.
That's amazing.
He's
Toni.
just good. You know, some people
Yes.
appear good because they're trying to make you think they're good. He's good all the way through, kind and selfless, and
Yeah.
it's a pleasure to just
Just to love him.
be with him all the time.
You're so
Yeah.
sweet, Miss Toni.
Making
Look
me
at her
cry.
little face.
Yeah, I know.
That's what this show does. It's just how we did it. Eric, we made her cry. Unfortunately, that's what most people don't want to do. Is we don't want to. It blesses our soul just talking about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I've loved that, and people talk a lot about their marriage from before or after, and they didn't regret it. And it's a beautiful story, and I wanted you to have an opportunity to make yourself a little open because it gives me hope. And you also have a deep-rooted, and I don't want to do Debbie Downer, but I do think a lot of our listeners can relate to you.
You're talking about my fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm that person too. So when I'm going to read what she said to me, she did my homework, but you did it like a writer would, but from a crazy heart that I saw you too. I saw you, girl, just like the tears coming out of your eyes. I did the same thing last night. This is what she sends to me. I'm a fearful person. I'm afraid of a lot of things. I panic. In fact, I'm afraid of panicking, and that influences all of my actions. My biggest regret is that I've never had goals, and I've never had a plan. This is ironic because I make plans. It's part of how I manage my fear. I have plans in place for things that could happen, and if I know something's going to happen, I plan the details. But my field of study, my jobs, my children, where I lived, most of the major life events, and most people define me by just popped up in front of me, and I was like, okay.
I was, yeah.
That's my personality.
Spontaneity.
Like, okay, you're my friend now. My husband is the only thing in my life that I decided I wanted and went after. And that story clarifies that. Thank you. I love that. I have terrible social anxiety and almost never go to parties or talk on the phone. You said that too, girl. Yet I am not a private person at all. Ask me anything. My position on happiness is pretty hardcore.
Oh, you've moved into the second question now. So.
Oh, I don't care. I like how it all runs together like a book. I recently
These are the
read-
answers. I want to clarify that these are the answers to 5 different.
You're
like, these are
gonna.
all-
You're gonna.
Okay.
I believe it's our obligation as living beings to decide to be happy. I recently read a book by the Dalai Lama that completely validated my perspective. I'm not formally part of a religion, but I follow most of the Quaker tenets. This includes the mandate to be an activist for what's right, a commitment to nonviolence, defining God as a good that lives in everybody, which manifests in Quakers as love for all individuals. We have to love everybody, and I think that's a pretty good thing to have to do. I get massive joy, and joy is my favorite, and I savor it from all kinds of things. I love to dance. I grow hops. I go for walks. I sew. I paint. I play the piano, do acrostic puzzles, and take long, hard baths. Cook, read in cozy spot with tea, and read on a pool raft, and play games. Except for playing games, my favorite activities are solitary. I need a lot of alone time. I love alone time, but mostly I love to dance. I'm bad at it, and I don't care. Now, how could I not read that? You don't need to touch on any of that. I think a lot of people would relate to you, girl. I do. And when I saw you at an event, and you were dressed in those cute dress. You had these boots on.
I love boots.
I know.
I would have worn boots right now, but it's red shoe.
And they had newspaper clippings on these thigh-high boots that you were wearing. You're like, check them out. Aren't they cool? You're like, yeah. And I go, you're a girl after my own heart. And then that's the people reaching out to the people. And I like to call that deep calls to deep. Okay, you are a deep soul, and my deep soul saw you. And so we were rocking out to this rock band, Arena Red, right?
Yeah, Arena Red.
Arena Red, and we were at Escape. Melissa, that's the third time I've called you out for free. And I wanted to know what you were doing with your life. I wanted to know, what the heck is she doing? And the first thing she said was, hey, can you stand with me? And I go, do you want me to stand with you? And you said, yes. I said, good, because I feel alone. And you're like, good, because I do too, even though your husband was there. Your husband was in line. I feel that social anxiety all the time.
He is very good at being social.
I can tell.
This is one of the things that I was watching about him. Mm-hmm. He was including people that he noticed weren't in the conversation.
Right.
He was sharing things. He's great at it, and he can get invited to something where he's not going to know anybody, and he doesn't panic about it. Like, he just looks forward to it. He likes to go out and do things. He's the reason we were at the concert.
I thought so.
Love the music, but I would like to sit in my car and watch it, or watch it from home.
Talking about cars, tell people about that car that you have. What kind of car?
I have a 43-year-old Chevrolet.
And what color is it,
It's
Toni?
a red.
It's what color?
It's a red.
It's red. The color love. Yeah, so the reason why I brought that up too is because when you're single for so long and you've got social anxiety, what happens to us is we just say, no, not tonight.
He's the guy I get to stand behind and let him do all the socializing.
And you had this beautiful dress on, and it was just this black little hot number. And that night was such an interesting, fun night because it was hot sort of outside, but everybody in Redlands was there.
I made that dress.
You made that dress?
I make most of my clothes.
I'm sorry.
Obviously, I didn't make that.
I make most of my clothes. Who does that?
I love to sew.
I have a friend that does everything like that too. You're like two people I know, and they're highly profiled people in this town. That's good to know about you. You sew. I have a 3-piece suit that still needs alteration.
I make 3-piece suits.
She makes 3-piece suits.
Well, I make 2-piece suits.
2-piece?
I just exaggerated on the radio.
Oh, well. So if I were to ask you, what's the favorite part about your husband, what he does for you during that social anxiety time? What's something that he tenderly does for you during that time?
You know, I was 20 when I met him,
Okay.
and we really grew up together. Like, I've been
Yes.
married to him for my whole life.
Yes.
So he and I have a rhythm,
Yes.
I think, and it's not, I mean, not always. Sometimes I'm like, how could you not know this? But, you know, he definitely is aware
Yeah.
that I don't want to be there, or that I'm starting to panic.
He can
And
feel it.
Oh, yeah, he can feel it. And he lets me. He's just completely calm about the fact that I'm going to stand behind him
Yeah.
and let him mingle, right? I'll stand there. People will talk to me, and I can talk back to people. If people will talk to me, then I will talk back. My fear is standing there and nobody's talking to me, or,
Yes.
you know, or I'm completely alone and I don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
anyway,
And
so
he does what? Does
but
he touch you?
he-
Does he hold your hand? What are things that he does for you?
he holds my hand. He's always holding my hand.
Good.
But you know, he's aware. I guess it's just a matter of he's always there.
He's present.
He's
is the
and
word.
he's present.
The reason why I brought that up
And
too.
he knows that at some point, all of a sudden, I'm going to say, I need to leave right now.
Yeah. He understands that you're at a place in your life where you're like, I think I'm done, but I'm using my balance, and I think I'm losing my balance in this. I've worked a lot to get dressed. I've worked a lot to be myself and to be funny, and you have a really good dance.
That's
Why?
the biggest. I know you're moving on.
No, I'm not.
That's the answer
Why
to
I
your
brought it up.
question. The biggest thing he does is deal with me before we go.
Right.
Is he sees me in the house panicking
Yeah.
that I'm about to go into a social scenario, right? I'm going to have to get dressed, and I'm going to put on multiple things and take them back off and put them on, and I'm going
Right,
to
5
cry
million
about
times.
the way I look in them, and I'm going to worry that I'm doing it wrong, and I'm going to be nervous about who's there, and I'm going to be talking up, and I'm going to be grouchy.
Me
right?
too.
I'm
I do
gonna
the same
Snap
thing.
at him, and he's going to be a
And it's
good
not
sport
fun,
about
right?
it.
It's not fun leading up to
Yeah.
the actual fun event, right?
Yeah.
That goes on a lot. I just wanted to let you know.
Thank you.
It happens to me personally. Ask my family and ask my friends. They're like, "Are you ready to go?" Yeah, I'll be done in 20 minutes. Am I on it in 20 minutes? Absolutely. Am I dressed, ready to go to an event? Absolutely. Am I ready to go inside? No. Do I get there on time? Yes. Did I for years get to events late? Yes. Because of my social anxiety.
I wanted to get this T-shirt I found, and it said, "I'm sorry I'm late. I didn't want to come."
I love that
And
shirt.
he
I've seen
goes-
it. I need
he
it.
goes, "Honey, you can't wear that places when it's true. You can't do that."
But also, I have a T-shirt that Jim and Jackie gave me. It says, "Keep talking. I'm diagnosing you."
Oh.
I can't wear that shirt. Maybe I will on the show, but it's not. Again, going
Let's
back.
do a segment on T-shirts we can't wear. So I have a
T-shirts you
T-shirt
can't wear.
for
Okay.
Punctuation Day. It's my favorite, and it's called Kama Sutra, and it has commas in all kinds of sexual positions. And I'm like, I'll wear it
perfect.
at home. I don't know where I can wear this.
Not to our meetings that we go to. Definitely. Let me remind people what we're doing. We're on
Please.
Undone with Dawn McJOY and Toni Momberger this evening. And so you want to call in one more time, you can call 909-792-5222 or 909-1050. So let me go back and take a break because I want to play one of your favorite songs, seeing that you made a short skirt
Oh, I love this song.
and she loves to wear long jackets.
If I had run again, this was going to be my campaign song.
Maybe I should make that mine.
I
Ooh.
love this song.
I want a girl. Everybody loves it.
I want a girl with a mind like a diamond. I want a girl who knows what's best. I want a girl with shoes that cut and eyes that burn like cigarettes. I want a girl with the right allocations, who is fast and thorough and sharp as a tack. She's playing with her jewelry, she's putting up her hair, she's touring the facility and picking up slack. short skirt and a long jacket. I want a girl who gets up early. I want a girl who stays up late. I want a girl with uninterrupted prosperity, who uses a machete to cut through red tape, with fingernails that shine like justice, and a voice that is dark like tinted glass. She is fast, thorough, and sharp as a tack. She is touring the facility and picking up slack. I want a girl with the short skirt and a long jacket.
That's right. That's right. We're getting girls on. She is a lady, but she knows how to listen to some awesome jams. I remember listening to that song the first time. I was like, yeah. And then I could see myself in some Doc Martens and the long sweater that we wore in the 90s. I still have some of those long sweaters and long jackets. Okay, so Toni Momberger, let's get back down to business. You are a journalist. Your current publication is legal news focused on Inland Empire. It fills a void getting sacrificed by mainstream news outlets and is important information for literally everyone to have access to and super interesting. What's your current publication?
Follow Our Courts.
Follow Our Courts. I've been kind of looking at your serious pictures, your serious poses. I just did a photo shoot and doing that serious pose
Do you hate doing a
with
photo
the blue
shoot?
steel eyes.
Oh,
No,
man.
actually, Rob made it fun. But I know he had to deal with my quirky. Okay, you and I have quirks.
Yeah, I don't like getting my picture
But I
taken.
enjoyed the stance, and I used it as the publication for you. It just is like, hi, I'm power. So tell me about this True Court stuff, right? Is that right?
Follow Our Courts.
Oh, Follow Our Courts.
I will tell you about this.
Please do.
Having been in mainstream media for 30 years,
Yes.
I saw, year after year, they're cutting resources. We used to have an entire copy desk, right? An entire fleet of copy editors and assignment editors and then slot editors. And then it would go through the design process, it would go to a proofreader. Like this all went away. You have one person who's assigning the story, leading the reporter through it and then doing the copy editing and then sometimes even doing the design if there's even any design to be had. And then often putting, managing the presence on social media. Like
Yes.
you're down to the editor and the reporter
Yes.
in a lot of mainstream, and then fewer and fewer reporters. So what's happening, at least, and I think this was, by the way, I don't mean this as any criticism, but I think this was a really sad situation, and I think it was handled very smartly by the news group that I was in. They had 11 papers, and they started, at the time they had, we were kind of in teams of 3, and then we became a team of 6, and then 9. By the time I left, it was 11, but most of the time I was there, we were in 9 papers. And they said, well, why don't we have one education reporter, right? And we can have one political reporter and one economic reporter, all the different things, and then you send them where the big story is, right? So this is what's happening. They're dealing with shrinking resources.
Sure.
There's a long way to say their resources are. So what's happening in our local courts affects everybody.
It does.
This is hugely important. It affects people. Everybody's an activist, right, for something.
Yes.
Everybody has a job or
am.
a field that matters, and there are lawsuits, and there are bills that are being proposed in the state legislature.
And you deserve to know.
And you deserve to know. Also, we live here, and there are crimes.
Yes.
And our taxes go toward arresting and charging and sentencing
Yes.
people, and we have a right to know how those criminals are being handled, how the crimes are being addressed.
And you decided to design this, and did you name it?
I did not decide to design it, and I did not name it.
No?
I was on a podcast getting interviewed about my experience on the city council.
The reason why I'm asking is
Yeah.
because you have a fan. Someone called in.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And no, it's a good thing. His name is Mike Warren. Do you know him?
Mike Warren is the first person, when I was the editor of the Facts, who came, people would come sit in my office and complain about things. He's the first person who came in and sat down and said, I just came here to tell you you're doing a good job. And I cannot tell you how powerful that moment was for me.
Well,
I
he's
am
on the
a very
line.
big
Do you
Mike
wanna
Warren
talk to
fan.
him? Can we? We're a Mike Warren
Yes.
fan at this show. Hi, Mike Warren. Welcome. You're on Undone with Dawn McJOY and Toni Momberger. Are you there?
Well, hi.
Hi,
there,
Mike.
Tony.
Hi. You called in to say hello?
I've been listening to the show, and I'm glad you're on there. You know, I've always thought you were a terrific person. And by the way, I think you always look great, no matter what you dress at. And
I agree.
I just kind of think, I was hoping that you might want to run for political office again so that I could vote for you.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're so sweet. It will never, never happen.
She's over that.
That's our loss, really. There's something that my wife put on our refrigerator some time ago, and I want to tell you about this. It's during the Vancouver Peace Summit of 2009, the Dalai Lama is quoted as saying, "The world will be saved by the Western women." And Toni, I think you're one of those women. So
Thank
Yes.
you. Mike, you continue to touch me. I'm going to remember that just like I remembered the first time I met you. Thank you.
well, I think you're a pretty terrific person, and I think we need a lot more people just like you.
Likewise.
I agree. That's why I had her on this show. Thank you for calling in.
Thank
These are the
you.
reasons why I opened up this channel of Undone, is that we don't know who's listening, but we want to make sure that you are loved and that you are heard and that you have an opportunity. And so you got to share your personal little story, and I'm glad you told us about what you're doing now. This is the do portion, you know, in your long skirt, short jacket, whatever. you've got edge to you, but you have this softness to you. And when people in public, they tell me, have you met Toni Momberger yet? I was like, when I didn't meet you, I was like, I know, everybody keeps saying that. But now that I've met you, oh man, it goes deep, causes it deep. It does. You call to my heart every time. And people are responding to you because you've put yourself out there on the line as an activist.
I have to be. I'm following the Quaker example. Quakers are my heroes. And I think that this
Okay.
probably surprises people. But if you look back at like when the Seneca Falls conference was being organized, which really initiated the women's empowerment movement,
Yes.
right? That was Quakers. If you look at a lot of the the beginnings of the anti-slavery movement, that was the Quakers. That was like, Quakers are the ones who have looked at problems in the world and said, our personal safety be damned, it's our obligation to right these wrongs. And they do it with this commitment to peace, this commitment to nonviolence, and this commitment to understanding and loving everybody, even though they're obviously opposing the practices of some other people.
Yeah.
And I really believe in that. I am following that to the best of my ability. We are in a town, and I'm circling back to the beginning of our conversation, but we are in a town that is so polarized. And it felt to me when I took over at the Fact like it was trying to pull itself apart over anything it could find, literally over terriers versus wildcats. People were making death threats because they thought I was covering one school more than another, and I had to count the articles for each side. But, pro-development versus preservation, obviously politically red versus blue. All of these issues within our community they're divisive, and it gets personal, and it gets ugly, and it gets hard. And I really have an awareness now, circling back to Mr. Warren's comment, that I could never be partisan, and I could never be in a political position. The arena of politics, and I was around people who were very dignified and very kind. I mean, I met a lot of really great people in politics, so I certainly am not saying this to denigrate anybody, but the arena of it involves things that I just can't handle. And I'm
Personally, right?
I'm also
Personally.
very frightened of criticism. Like, I don't know.
I think a lot of us are, Toni.
The fact that the price of using your skills and your experience and your knowledge to make your community better comes at a cost of putting yourself up to be ripped apart is wrong. That is a fundamental flaw in the system. Democracy is great, and I think it's a beautiful thing, but I think that element of it needs to be addressed.
It's a softer approach is what I'm actually working on myself. It's a softer approach. I don't have to be so nasty to get points across. And I think radio did that for me. You used it on the streets. I did too. I was in the streets with the Red Shoe Cause, but I also was screaming for my rights as well in certain things. Being hurt as a woman, just certain things, not feminist or anything. I'm for genders, all races. The thing I didn't enjoy was feeling unsafe in my town for a while. And then COVID made us all feel unsafe. And so the best way I knew how to do that was to go introversion and take care of myself and my family. And then COVID hit, and that's what they asked us to do anyways. So I was good for like a year.
Yeah.
Right? We were cool for like a year. I was like, yeah, we can make food. And it's not fun after a while, and it gets serious. And you are using your mouthpiece as well as your knowledge, as well as your spirit to keep it humble and keep it right and keep it honest with certain individuals. And your fan is not just a fan, he's a friend. He gets you, he understands you. And a lot of people know me too. And do you know me? Yeah, you do, because every single time we present ourselves, it may come across as quirky or intrusive or a little off-putting or a little different. And yet being different is what makes us the word authentic. Right? And then when I don't feel like talking, I say, in my world, I say, that's my unique privacy. Oh. When I don't feel safe, I don't want to talk about that. That's my unique privacy. Because I teach my clients and teach myself and my family that you have boundaries. And you're explaining that the reason why you chose not to do further work in politics, you'd have a boundary that emotionally and spiritually and physically you cannot do at this point anymore.
So, yeah, the city council level is supposed to be nonpartisan, and I loved that. I loved that element of it. I loved being able to advocate for Redlands.
Me
and,
too. It's fun in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm acknowledging the reputation of the Redlands snobbery, right?
Sure.
Redlands is, oh gosh, we're not going to Yucaipa. That's not going to happen.
Hey,
but
I'm in Yucaipa now. Kind of like the rural. It was snowed there today. It was kind of nice.
Everybody, I'm totally going on the wrong. Jakub Smirnoff has a comedy routine where he makes fun of Cleveland, and then he says, I'm sorry. He says, and every country has a place that they make fun of. In Russia, we make fun of Cleveland, and I thought that was really funny, and I make fun of Yucaipa a lot, but I
You're
don't
allowed.
mean anything personal by it. It's just that I'm inspired by Jakub Smirnoff. And so,
that's good to know.
what was I talking about? Being able to advocate for Redlands,
Yes.
and not having to be partisan. It meant that I was usually agreeing with everybody on something.
Yes.
And that was a beautiful thing. When I started looking at, and there was pressure, right, to look at a partisan position in higher office. And,
Sure.
I was flattered by that, but I absolutely would never be able to handle a partisan position.
You'd feel stretched.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it because that's one thing that also happened to me is that you said this, I like this. You fell into this field through misrepresenting yourself to boys.
Yeah.
At the time, I was professional hula hooper. Life is funny. What?
Yeah. We don't have time for me to explain that answer.
Well, you fell into this field
All right, let me see if I can tell
by
it.
misrepresenting yourself to boys. That was fun.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I was 18 years old, maybe 19 years old. I was a professional singing and dancing and stunt hula hooping, Chantilly lace. And I would do, and a comedian, like I was doing this stuff. And this, I ended up, how can I tell this fast? Just by happenstance, I'm in line at a restaurant behind somebody who had been my customer, and he offers me this high-paying job at Riverside Community College where he works. And anyway, this guy comes in that I had noticed and had a crush on, and he says he wanted the paperwork for a semester at the University of Guanajuato, Mexico. I did not speak Spanish. I spoke German and French at that time. And I looked right at him and I said, "Oh, I'm going on that trip."
Oh.
this was technically true because I decided when he said he wanted the paperwork that I was going to go on the trip. But really, I had never heard of the trip. So I dug up all the papers in the drawer and found what he was looking for and gave him some and took some home. And anyway, I end up misrepresenting myself, right? And the reason this led to me being in journalism is we were kind of casually seeing if something was going to start there, but I met a different boy while I was there who was a Stanford student, but he was also there for this term. And he worked for his school newspaper. And I said, I've written for my school newspaper, which was technically true because I had 2 limericks published that won the limericks contest on the campus newspaper. Anyway, I end up going back with him.
Not a lie.
I move up to Stanford. I become the news editor of the college paper. This is how I end up going to Hawaii to meet Doug because I'm covering.
That's why she's the lady. There we go. That's
misrepresentation.
Although it took you to
journalism.
your journey, which was to love thyself through the journey. I can see it all over you. You're a very bright spirit. There's so much more information. So you're going to come back on my show, right? And we're going to have like part 2. Okay, part 2. I wanted to ask you, we are on Undone and we have 3 minutes left already. Our time is up and I feel like we need to go have cocktails or coffee somewhere and hang out. But if you've enjoyed our show and you want to know more about what Undone is with Dawn McJOY, you can be a guest on our show if you're out there in the world and you decide you can call in and be my guest. But if you want to be somebody that's heard, it's for mental and emotional wellness is what this is about. I'm wearing my Alanis Morissette, get up. I told you, my Birks. I'm wearing my Birks, my Jesus sandals. Toni, what is it that you met me? What was it about that you decided that you and I were going to be friends? Do you know the moment?
Yes. We were at a gathering in city chambers of representatives from all the different agencies that do work that address the homeless crisis in Redlands.
The RC, yeah.
And Marcy, who was our liaison from the police department to the homeless community, said a terrible story about a woman that she had met, and she didn't have any paperwork for her Social Security and all the things. She was an elderly woman. And although elderly the definition keeps moving because I'm getting elderly quickly.
Stop
so
that.
anyway,
I've got 2 minutes. Let's go. Tell us.
And your head flew around, and you said, "Why didn't you call me?"
Yes, I remember that.
Do you remember that moment?
I do remember that moment. I was like, "Why didn't you call me?"
Yeah. But let's get, let me put my boots on and start solving problems. Right?
So you and I knew.
One person at a time. Let's get this done. Stop complaining. Let's move. Right?
Thank you for that.
I'm here for people. And I thought, that is a human being who is interesting and passionate and ready.
Why did she say those words?
And ready to go.
I appreciate that feedback. There's a reason, is that when we're undone, we finally understand what connects us all. And the connection piece is humor, for one. You are a funny woman. You are hilarious on the off-camera, off-lifestyle. She dances. She does dance. But she's funny. And her humor is this quick wit underneath her breath. Like, did she really say that? Those kinds of things. Satirical lifestyle. You've got it. Wit, sass, class. You are a lady.
Thank you.
You have turned me into a better person. You have helped me in a lot of different spots in my life recently. And I want you to listen to this song because you love this song. It's Alanis One, and I appreciate you being here.
Here we go.
On Undone with Dawn McJOY.
Thank you, Dawn.
You are so awesome.
I have been utterly threatened. I've got ton candy for my self-interest. The sexy treadmill.
KCAA Loma Linda. Listen on 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, and 106.5 FM.
The information discussed on this show is not intended or implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content is for general informational purposes only.